All right, good morning everyone, welcome. So I'm out on a short cafe ride this morning and wanted to give all of you a quick update on a couple of the bikes I'm currently putting together. You know, I've made a bunch of videos where I've sprinkled in the information and I realized a lot of time has gone by, so I thought, well, let's just do a quick update. So I've got two bikes going, Miss Cool's dirt touring bike, and then I have the Colnago steel Italian road racing bike I'm building. And so with Miss Cool's bike, I have pretty much all the parts ready. I just finished assembling her wheels, and I'm just waiting on a few more parts I ordered, and then I can finish doing the assembly of the bike. And if any of you have ever, built a kind of neo-retro, or you've taken modern and vintage parts and tried to put them together, you can imagine how, it's time consuming. It's like a treasure hunt when you go on the internet to try to find stuff. And when you do finally find something, it can be too expensive, and then you have to go back to the drawing board and rethink what you want to do. So there's been a lot of that. Also on her wheels, I was struggling to try to keep them really lightweight for her, but because we're doing the rim brake wide tire tubeless setup, there isn't a lot of options. So I was originally going to go with the Crust 650B rims, the really lightweight ones, but after kind of delaying on ordering them, because I wasn't sure if I wanted those or a velocity rim with a machine sidewall, I delayed for too long, and when I went back to order the Crust rims, they had already sold out. So we ended up with the velocity cliffhanger, which is the same rim I'm using on my dirt touring bike. It's a great rim. It's just that it's really it's pretty heavy. It's a 625 gram rim. It's definitely a durable rim, but it is on the heavier end. And Miss Cool's being so lightweight, I thought she would be good with a lighter rim, even for bike packing. But anyway, we'll get some of those one day and give them a try. I think they look like a pretty interesting rim. And then on the Colnago, well, I dropped off the fork, the platers over in Sacramento, and that was kind of the thing I'm waiting on. It should be ready any day now. They said the middle of November, and it's now the middle of November, but we're going into the holidays, so I don't want to bother them. They'll be ready. It'll be ready soon, hopefully, and we'll get that bike built up. And it's an Italian steel racing bike, so probably not something I'm going to ride a lot in the winter anyway. So we'll be ready for next summer to ride it for sure. But hopefully I'll get the fork, and I can at least do a build video showing all the parts I'm using, and we can kind of just see what it looks like. But anyway, yeah. So like I said, I'm just heading over to the coffee shop right now, and I brought this book I'm reading, this new book I picked up. So if you're interested in seeing what I'm reading, stay tuned. We'll go over to the coffee shop and I'll show you what I'm reading. So a lot of people ask me why I bring my own coffee cup, and the real reason is you get 50 cents off for every cup of coffee you buy if you bring your own cup. So this cup has paid for itself many times over, and this is I'm not sponsored anyway, I'm not sponsored, but this is just an old school Stanley brand, stainless steel. It's insulated. It does come with a lid, but I never bring it. And it keeps the coffee hotter longer, so you get a discount, and it keeps your coffee warm longer. A little bit cold out. We just got back up from Southern California, and the weather down there was unbelievable, just perfect. In fact, I got a lot of sun while I was there. I actually got a little tan. So Let's take a look at this book I'm reading. This is a book for building bicycle frames, and it's called Lugged Bicycle Frame Construction, a manual for the first-time builder. And it is the expanded 2nd edition. I think they're actually on to the 3rd edition. I picked up this one used, paperback. Mark Andre R. Shimonis. Don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but he's the author. And, you know, I've been kind of curious a bit about how difficult it is to build a bicycle frame myself, and I've been very interested, kind of, you know, toying with the idea of building my own frame. This particular book only focuses on the frame, not the fork, and he uses I haven't gotten all the way through the book yet, but he uses a torch for doing the lug. This is for a lugged bicycle frame. Actually, let me step back. So this is for a lugged steel tubed bicycle frame only. No fork, no TIG welding, no MIG welding, no carbon fiber, no aluminum. This is just brazed, lugged, using a MAP gas torch, which is something you can pick up at a hardware store. And one of the things he says in the very beginning of the book is that this is for someone who wants to just learn how to build their own frame using no more than $300 worth of tools. So very simple, and it's kind of just a starter. What's it like? What do you need? What's the basics kind of thing. So I'm into chapter, let's see, what chapter am I into? I'm into recommended tools right now. And then I'm going to be going into that's chapter 4, and chapter 5 is shaping metal tubes, mitering, and drilling. But actually, so I want to read a couple things in here that I think is pretty funny. And I think a lot of you, I mean, he's got a sense of humor. One of the things about this book I really like is that the author has a pretty good sense of humor. So in chapter, let's see, what chapter is this? I'm gonna read something here. I think it's pretty funny. So chapter 2, bicycle frame anatomy. He goes into frame materials. So this is really kind of the introductory part. But let me read this to you. So as a frame builder accumulates more experience, he develops very strong opinions and biases about frame materials. With this in mind, I will present the reader with the most objective description of bicycle frame materials possible. Now, keep in mind the word objective. Aluminum is the stuff that contains your cheap beer when you are not drinking it. Frames made of aluminum tend to create harsh rides with little vibration damping. The rider feels every nook and cranny in the road, and by the end of a long ride feels pretty beat up. Aluminum is also a soft metal that is easy to machine. Aluminum's low melting temperature requires much less energy to weld than steel or titanium. These metallurgic characteristics allow industry to use aluminum to mass produce cheap products, yet market them as if they were state-of-the-art. The weight savings of an aluminum frame are offset by harsh ride characteristics and a general lack of repairability. Carbon fiber, graphite, is the stuff that comes in pencil leads. Carbon fiber is the frame material of choice for ill-tempered roadies and gram-counting weight weenies, which are really one and the same. Carbon fiber can also be used to build seat posts, stems, wheels, cranks, and even cycling shoes. A carbon-framed bicycle with carbon components can cost about as much as a Honda Civic, but is much less useful. This decade has seen the addition of carbon nanotubes into the resin of carbon fiber frames. next decade, maybe we'll see carbon pico tubes, and the decade after that, carbon femto tubes. Carbon fiber frame building kits do exist for the hobbyist and are comprised of straight tubes that fit in aluminum lugs with epoxy. In my extremely objective opinion, there are much cheaper ways to sniff glue. So anyway, he goes on to talk about titanium, but titanium requires TIG welding. So anyway, it's a pretty entertaining book. It is about the basics, so I'm gonna read that and see where we go from there. No promises, but I do think it's interesting. I have some ideas for some frames, so who knows? Maybe we'll build one of these days.